going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film, where we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and TV. Today, on episode 77 of the podcast, in week 5 of our Spooktober celebration, we are talking about the 2006 mockumentary Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, the wonderful Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Oh, fuck, I'm sorry. I got excited. I was like, elbows, bitch!
And
sorry,
joining us from the Flicks and Friends podcast is the wonderful Dustin. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Can't hear the applause.
Can't hear the applause. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It all depends on the final, when I edit this.
Yeah. Just edit in an applause sound.
Yeah, that's too much work, Dan. I already do very minimal editing.
No, please. I'm not trying to get you to do more. It was a suggestion.
Dustin, welcome to the show. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on. We've been talking since pretty much since you started your own show not too long ago.
Not too long, yeah.
Which I want you to talk about right now. So who are you and what is your show all about?
Well, I am Dustin. I'm 1/3 of the Flicks and Friends podcast. We basically just comedically break down movies chronologically. We are, like you said, we are very new. Episode 16 comes out on Monday. Infancy. And we just shoot the shit. But we do have common friends, because I heard you guys are friends with the movie Dumpster Fellas.
Yes.
And that's where I got my my foot into the podcasting game.
Yeah, that was the reason I kind of looked into you guys. Was Joe was sharing all of your stuff like when you first started out. I was like, oh well, I mean, if Joe Lascola's recommending something, I'm gonna look into it. We love the guys from Movie Dumpster over here. They joined us for an amazing episode, and they joined you for an awesome episode about Pumpkinhead.
Dude, that movie was so fucking fun to talk about, man. It was so fun.
So such a great episode. I mean, all of your episodes have been great. Your latest one is Paranorman, correct?
Yes. No, Werewolf by Night. We did a special feature on Werewolf by Night.
Right.
Yeah.
But Paranorman, I love Paranorman, so I just remember that one vividly.
Yeah. I forgot how much I actually really enjoyed that movie up until rewatching it for the show.
Yeah. So, actually, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, I was gonna say, for once, I actually was on it, not like our last guest. Sorry, other Dustin.
Yeah, we are few and many. Like when I was listening to the last one, and you guys were like, Dustin, I was like, yes.
Looking around. Is this the future? Am I there already?
Because I think in my entire life, I've only met 4 other Dustins.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's always a Justin.
I knew 2 in school. I knew 2 Dustins actually.
Yeah.
Weird.
We've had a Justin on the show as well. We had Justin from Epic Film Guys on the show. True. So it's crazy. We like to get everybody who has names that sound very similar.
The Ustins, we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just make a cult. The Ustins. No, I was gonna say, I actually usually when we have a guest on, I try to do research, and I actually did. I got on. I was on it this week, unlike last week. And while I was burning a field down, I was listening to the podcast.
Hell yeah!
Was it the Pumpkinhead episode? Because that would have been perfect.
No, it was not the Pumpkinhead episode. It would have been great. There is a personal story behind that I will not include on the podcast about burning said field down. Nothing of value was lost. Just want to let you know that.
That's good.
It was Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Oh hell yeah, dude! That's another one. That's one of those funny stories about movies, because my grandma is who got me into film. Period. But when I was a kid, me and my older sister, we tricked my grandma, saying, "Yeah, Mom said it was cool. Let's go fucking see Beavis and Butthead," and she took us.
Apparently, this was the second time that you had done this. I mentioned it on the show.
Yeah, the first time was The Faculty.
No,
yes.
Yeah.
So we actually, my dad took us. So I would have been, when did that came out? 96. So I'd have been 10 when that came out.
Faculty?
No. Beavis and Butthead.
Oh.
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead. I was 7.
Yeah, so I was,
baby.
There you
dude,
go.
it's Phantoms. Yeah, hell yeah.
But anyway, I was just saying, because I mentioned, I was just scrolling through, and I didn't realize you guys were so young. Like, I just went through the first few ones. Like, oh, Beavis and Butthead. I hadn't talked about that movie. I heard about that movie forever. My dad took us to the theater when that came out.
Nice.
But yeah, that was just my choice. I was like, Beavis and Butthead, this is the one. This is the one that's gonna seal me on the show.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Sounded like it.
Yeah.
So we are here to talk about a little movie that Dustin actually picked out because we've everybody that we've asked to be a guest on the show, we just said, hey, you get to pick what movie we're going to talk about. So there was actually two that we kind of went back and forth about, but I'm happy that this was the one that you decided to go with, and that is, of course, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, a movie that really isn't talked about very much, not even really in the horror community. And to be honest, the only reason I know about this movie was because of Dead Meat, which I'm wearing that shirt.
Same.
And I remember watching the kill count, and that was about the only. I feel like that's the only way I would know that this movie even exists. So shout out to Dead Meat as always, as we reference them all the time in our episodes. But tell us a little bit about your history with this movie and what it means to you.
Yeah, so I've been a Leslie Vernon fan for a very long time. I remember I was in high school around 2006, 2007, and that's when Trick or Treat and Hatchet came out. But all of those were Anchor Bay films. And they were all like trailers on each movie. And then when I seen the trailer for Leslie Vernon, I was like, fuck, that looks pretty cool. And I remember getting mad because I was like, oh, it's found footage. And then I started appreciating it more because I understood the meta it was going for within itself. And then all of the cool little cameos and Easter eggs and everything that's in it. There's a lot. If you guys, if you have any written down, we'll talk about. But
oh yeah,
there's a ton of cameos, Easter eggs, and shit like that in this. But 2006 is when I became a Leslie Vernon fan.
So you were in it from the beginning.
You're an OG.
Yeah,
and that's awesome because like I said, it's not talked about. Like even today, I feel it's never talked about. Like you'll see it on some lists here and there, but I just feel it's like, especially. I mean, we're going to talk about our thoughts on this movie, but spoiler alert. Like it's a good, like this is a very good movie, and I'm very disappointed in just the reception that not reception because it actually got a good reception. It just disappeared.
Yeah, is this the first time all three of you have seen this?
Yes, in full. Yeah. Like I said, I watched the kill count, which shows a lot of the movie, so like I knew what I was going into, but like seeing it from beginning to end, yeah, this was the first time.
Nice, yeah, no, this it's becoming a little more, I guess, cult classic because down here in Florida we have Spooky Empire, which is like our yearly haunted convention. So like it was just this past weekend, and I'm starting to see a lot more Leslie Vernons there. But like I said, I've been a fan since 2006.
Before we get any further, I figured I'm gonna, for my refreshment for the day, since it is Spooktober, I feel I got another pumpkin beer that I'm going to drink during the episode. And I thought I'd share it since I was on a beer podcast before, so I figured I'd do what they do. It is a pumpkin ale with real pumpkin, by the way. I had to say that. It's not fake pumpkin, everybody. It's real pumpkin from Smutty Nose Brewery Company in Hampton, New Hampshire, which is, I think, it's only like 3 hours away from where I live. So, and I'm going to drink it out of this beautiful Trick or Treat mug that I just got from Spirit Halloween today. Yeah. Do I drink it out of a glass? Hell no. I drink it out of a mug with Sam's beautiful pumpkin head on it. All right. There we go. That's all I wanted to do, guys. Sorry. Sidetrack everything there. You can listen to the pour as well.
Oh. So is this a different pumpkin ale or is it the same?
Yeah, I was gonna drink the. Oh no! Oh no!
No, spill!
What have you done?
What have I done? Okay, sorry.
You've christened the episode.
I've derailed. I've derailed it already. Not that anybody should be surprised by that.
I was gonna say not surprising.
If this was a Tommy Boy episode, this would be great. Carry on.
So, I want to shout out before we get into like the behind the scenes and everybody that's in this movie. I was looking, so I usually go on Wikipedia to look up some of the, like certain facts. I know Wikipedia's got its, people can edit it and all that stuff, but that's how I get my box office and actors and all the little tidbits here. Because we don't do excessive research here. I just pull things from different sites and there we go. Or I watch some behind the scenes stuff. I don't go into too much of like deep research on movies. But the thing I wanted to shout out was the poster that they have on Wikipedia for this movie. This thing is awesome. don't know if you guys have seen it, but I mean, I'm gonna post it in the video, so it'll pop up here. But it's a really cool, like retro, like old Texas Chainsaw Massacre style poster. If you go to Wikipedia, I hadn't seen it before. I've only seen the one that is literally anywhere when you look up this movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this movie was directed by Scott Glosserman. Now, this man has 4 credits to his name. His first being a movie from 2001 called No Escape, Prison Rape, as an associate producer.
Well, it's a documentary.
Yes, I know. Most actually, 2 of the 4 movies that he directed were documentaries, actual documentaries. This is considered a mockumentary because it's not real. It's like The Office or those type of shows. Then in 2006, he did.
Office isn't real.
It's not real, everybody.
No, you can't.
Michael Scott doesn't exist. In 2006, he directed this movie. And in 2010, because we were speaking about Wikipedia, he directed a documentary called Truth in Numbers, Everything According to Wikipedia.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
And then in 2011, he directed a film called The Truth Below, and then he disappeared, and no one has heard from him since. They're still looking for him today. Just kidding.
Go to this website to find out more information.
Exactly.
That's right.
This movie stars Nathan. Is it Basil? I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
I think so.
Great in this movie. Has done nothing. He's done some spots in TV shows here and there throughout his career, but really nothing to the stature of Leslie Vernon. And it's very disappointing because he is a standout in this
I
movie.
think it was a great job.
Angela Goethals, who played what was her name?
Taylor.
Sorry, I'm terrible with names. She was in Home Alone. She played one of Macaulay Culkin's sisters. Did you know that?
Dude.
Nope.
Crazy.
She was in hit movie Spanglish. Holy fuck.
I think she's the one that wants to get burnt like a crisp, like a lobster, like they've been talking about going to Florida. I think that's who that is.
Dude,
I would redhead sister. Yeah.
No,
I don't think I've seen that movie since it came out. And I just remember going, what is this? This isn't funny.
Yeah.
Because it's Adam Sandler and you're just expecting
I was talking about Home Alone.
Oh!
I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute,
we're talking about
I know. Oh, I see it.
Talking about Spanglish. Oh no.
She was also in a movie called Porn and Chicken.
Nice.
Sounds like a movie I'd write.
That's a great
I'm just
name.
gonna let you know.
I don't know what you're
Like damn, we need a name like Porn and Chicken.
Oh,
I
Lord.
Fuck yeah.
I love it.
She had a small part in Jerry Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
She did not return for Home Alone 2. She was recast. I actually don't have a clue if that's the actual truth behind her. But another person did really good job. Scott Wilson, who is I think well known for The Walking Dead. He played Herschel Green, one of the main characters, and unfortunately he passed away in 2018.
Yeah.
He also had a recurring role in CSI, the original CSI. But he has been in the Heat of the Night, in Cold Blood, The Great Gatsby, Dead Man Walking, Pearl Harbor, just to name a few.
Was he ever in a horror movie in the past? Like as a notable thing? Like I didn't know if they picked him for that reason. I have no idea.
He's on Robot Chicken.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
He was in he was in Monster, which was the one about the one with Charlize Theron, who played the serial killer.
Yeah, but that was like that happened.
Who the fuck?
Yeah, that happened like 30 minutes away from me, like the actual location. Yeah,
he was in The Host.
Was he? Oh yeah,
apparently
I do see it. Yep.
Who the fuck does he? That's wild as shit. Listen, everybody sucked that movie's dick when it came out. I think it's a little exaggerated. I don't think it's quite. This is the dude that went on and did Parasite. Same guy.
Yeah.
That movie, The Host, really cool kaiju. I don't think it's that great of a movie. It was all right.
He also did what's the train one? The one where it's like on a post-apocalyptic world where it's had Chris Evans with a train going through Like everybody
Double
lives on a
penetration.
train.
No, Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer. Don't, jeez.
Trying to get the episode started off right.
Zelda Rubinstein plays a part in this movie, which is awesome to see. It was her last role.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
And then, of course, Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, who is like, I love that in this movie, Freddy Krueger is referenced, and then Robert Englund shows up as a completely different character.
Yeah, it's referenced a couple different ways too, which is pretty tight.
Oh, so funny. So this was premiered on March 12th, 2006 at South by Southwest. What?
Parker. Kane Hodder was in the movie.
Oh, that's
Come
right.
on,
Does
man.
make I was getting there. It was going to be a surprise in the plot, but you ruined it. It's all your fault.
Good job.
I don't give a
Damn
shit.
it, Dan. You're making us look bad in front of our guest.
I just want to make a scene. I'm sorry. I'm just showing my ass because company's here, all right?
Oh, man.
That's true.
So, yeah, it premiered at South by Southwest. It actually got pretty good reception. Unfortunately, they weren't able to really put it in many theaters. It only made about $70,000 total at the box office, which for an indie film, for, you know, I know it was on VOD, which was super early in its time. And then I think that's one of the reasons why it's not talked about much, because it was so hard to get. You either got the original DVD back when it came out, or you had to wait until Scream Factory released it back in 2018 on Blu-ray, which I need to buy immediately because I think it's on sale on Amazon right now. So
how much is it?
You want to buy? It's like $16.
Ooh, we should get that.
So yeah, Scream Factory had a huge sale, so this was one of them. And after watching it, I definitely need to own this movie.
Seems like it suffered the same fate as The House of the Devil.
Yeah,
very similar earnings.
Pretty much. It's indie filmmakers, doing something that really had never been done. I know that when they brought, like, Robert Englund didn't get paid like anything to be in the movie. They just asked him, if he would do it. He really liked the idea of the script, came in. I guess was a super nice guy. Just did what he just enjoyed the hell out of it, especially with the fact that it's very meta to the horror genre as a whole, especially the more focused on the slasher genre, which is awesome. And we'll get to that more in detail when we get into the plot. But let's talk about our feelings on this movie after our latest viewing. And we're going to start with our guest, of course. Dustin, after watching this movie, whenever you did recently, what are your thoughts today on Behind the Mask?
I love it just as much as I loved it when I viewed it in 2006. It's one, I used to, down here in Florida, we used to have I had a job at a place called Movie Stop, which was similar to GameStop, but with movies. And whenever someone would ask me, hey, what's a good scary movie to start out on? I'm not really big into horror. I would always suggest this movie. I'm like, what it does is it breaks down the genre, and there's nothing too scary about it, but it lets you in on starting to understand it as a genre itself. And I watched it last night. My wife watched it with me for the first time, her first time, and she loved it. And she doesn't do scary movies at all. Like, I have to wait till she's in bed to watch anything, or I have to go to the movies by myself. So it's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, so I loved it then. I love it now, and I'll love it until hopefully they make a sequel with a budget.
Yes, please.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
there has been talks about a sequel since the release of this movie, but I guess there was a script written about 10-ish years ago. But I guess the original director, stated that the scripts were too out of date based on the way the horror genre is now. So they pretty much had to scrap everything. So hopefully one day it would let.
We got that comic. We got that comic book run from them though.
Right,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like there's a comic run. It's not long, but same deal with like Hatchet and Holliston, all that stuff. We got super cool comic run.
Oh, yeah, I definitely need to look into those comics. Dan, we're going to start with you.
Yes, teacher.
We're going to start with you.
Pay attention, damn it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Parker.
No, you go ahead. What are your thoughts on this movie? Do you not know how this goes? Well,
I don't know. I thought this was a
77 episodes of this.
cross-examination. Anyway, sorry, I'm just talking to my ass. Always. When am I not? I thought the movie was great. I really enjoyed it. I kind of knew it was about, like, same thing for you. I watched it on Dead Meat, but it was so long ago, I didn't remember most of the movie. I like the cast. I did not realize how this film was made. I didn't realize it was made along the same veins as, The House of the Devil, like it being like that kind of. Really, it's I would say, I guess, a bigger indie movie, but not really as far as indie movies go. Maybe, I don't know. It got made. It looked good. I mean, it looked fine for what it was. I don't know what did you say the budget was, or did we?
I can't find where the budget is on this movie.
Obviously, it's probably not a lot. It's safe to assume it's not a lot. But I thought all the people they brought in for actors were good. They did the roles well. Even the dumbass stoner or the meat fodder kids, cannon fodder kids, those were okay. It's fine, whatever. But like the main group, like the filming, the whatever reporters or college students, and then Leslie Vernon and people he knows, I thought was good. I thought the movie was filmed great. It even though there wasn't a whole lot going on, it's not just people fucking around. He's explaining the process of how everything works, and then how the ending was done. And the one thing is, oddly, this movie's not really violent. That violent at all. Like most, like there's very little blood. The kills are usually done kind of like interesting camera angles, so you don't see a whole lot for the most part. But no, it's a great movie. I agree with Dustin. I think it's a great starter if you're like wanting to get into horror, because it's not really scary. There may be one or two jumpy kind of moments, maybe, but they're not even that bad. I don't really even remember any. I'm just kind of trying to cover my bases here in case somebody calls me out on it later and says I was a liar. But it's good. It's a really good movie. You should watch it. This movie deserves more love. Kind of like, The House of the Devil was a pretty decent movie, and Phantoms, another movie that just doesn't get appreciated. It's just kind of fell out by the wayside. So that's it. Was that too competent?
No.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm in rare form tonight. I'm sorry to you guys and Dustin. So. Go ahead, wife.
So I don't remember watching this on Dead Meat. I've never even heard of this movie.
I think we watched it like Victor and I watched it without you.
Yeah, because you guys watch them all without me.
How dare you?
Yeah. So going into this, I didn't know what to think of it. Never even heard of it, so I didn't know what it was about. Didn't know. I loved it though.
Hello. You good?
Hello?
Got a mouse? Got a ghost?
It's my phone.
I'm like, why is an app just sort of randomly going on her phone?
My phone, and I'm like, what's going on?
There was like a rodent. And like, there's a mouse. What's happening?
It sounded like water dripping. I was like, where's it coming from? It's my phone. I'm not even touched my phone, so I don't know.
That was weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. But yeah, I would love to watch this movie again. I thought it was great. I loved what's his face? Scott Wilson, because I love Herschel. He's my friend. Not really. No, I was crying. Oh, I cried when he.
No, like he died in 2018.
I know. I cried in The Walking Dead. I cried when he died.
God damn it, you spoiled. No, I'm just kidding. I'm never watching.
Oh my gosh. If you haven't watched it yet, then that's on you, not me.
If you've listened to this podcast and that made you mad, please let us know.
I'm sure we've made you mad before now.
Probably.
But yeah, I loved it. I loved the humor. I loved how Leslie Vernon was. I love some of the humor that the way he told his stories, and he was just like, eh.
Oh yeah, when I would explain it to people. That's how I would explain it. Either would this happen or
yeah, just like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I loved it. I would definitely watch it again.
And I have to agree. This movie was fun from beginning to end. I love I'm very hit or miss when it comes to, I don't know, you wouldn't consider this a found footage movie because it's more of in the in terms of a documentary, but it's a mockumentary. But I like the fact that it kind of switches back and forth between the documentary format and like an actual film.
Cinematic,
Yeah. And like the fact that Nathan Basil, and if I mispronouncing his name, somebody yell at me. He is fantastic in this movie. He just steals every scene he's in. His line delivery is impeccable. The things he does, the way he reacts to certain things, especially like, for instance, he's in the library and he's setting up the whole, thing with the girl. And he just goes, "Paradise Lost." Right here. I was like, it's so good. It's so smooth. And the way that he's like whispering to Taylor, like everything that's like that is about to happen, or like the things that are going on. And he just lives his life so nonchalantly. Like it's like, yeah, I'm a serial killer. It is what it is. It's my passion in life. It's so good. I just love this idea and the fact that we don't really see anything like this. And I feel like why aren't more people doing these type of films, and why isn't this movie talked about more? It's so sad because it's so good, and these actors deserved better, and this filmmaker even deserved better, because nobody other than Scott Wilson, who had a career before this movie. He was probably him, and you had him, Robert Englund, and Zelda Rubinstein, and of course Kane Hodder in his cameo. They were established in the, in film, and I think that should have also gotten more attention. The fact that like these people were in the movie is like, what? Please, hello? No one was screaming from the mountaintops. It's just, where's the love for this thing? I mean, it's sad that I didn't see it until 2022. Almost. Yeah. What is that? What's that in years? Huh? Is that 16?
About Well, was it 2006 it came out?
Yeah.
So in 16 years.
So yeah, it's a travesty. That's the word I was trying to think of. My brain wasn't working properly to find that word. It's a travesty.
It is definitely a Travis.
But I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. All the performances. Everything was shot practically like it wasn't on a set. This was all in like actual locations. I know that the location of what's the town? Eden Glen?
Glen Echo.
Glen Echo, yeah. It was supposed to take, so that was supposed to be in Maryland, correct?
Yeah.
But it actually was filmed in Oregon, or Oregon, however you pronounce it. And just
not oregano.
Listen, there's people, Oregon, whatever.
Potato.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, I want to hear how people say my state name. It's hilarious, especially Southerners. It's great.
Is it not
you? Like more Southern, like deep Southern. Massachusetts.
I think I'm as South as it gets.
Yeah, but you're Florida. They're like,
oh gosh,
they don't know what they are.
No,
you have like a sprinkle of actual like Floridians who are actually from there, who have been there for generations, who are Southern, and then you have everybody else.
Yeah, I'm part of the 11% that was born and raised.
There you go.
There you go.
See, I'm from Georgia, and when we moved to Tennessee, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't understand these people talking. And then we visit Florida for the first time, and I'm like, where are we? I'm like, I can't understand these people at all.
Is this some fantasy land? What is going on?
I was like, I thought we were bad.
But what I like the most about this is it's like I said, the closest we got to this now is Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
And what this movie and Cabin in the Woods can potentially do is open the door to other types of horror genres and do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like we can get something other than slasher. Like, we could get like I did it actually. There's a movie called The Monster Project, where this guy he auditions real life monsters to haunt this house. And they actually end up turning on him and the camera crew, which is a pretty cool, fun found footage movie. But it could be an anthology thing. Like it can be kind of like how Creepshow has different scenarios each episode. It could do the same exact thing.
I agree. it's so unique and just not appreciated enough. And I'm just going to keep saying it. It's just disappointing. And that's
I
the
think
second time I've said it in the last 2 weeks about something being disappointing to me.
Before we get into the movie, I do have a question for everybody here. This just hit me. If they did do a sequel to this movie, I kind of want your opinion on it. I don't think they could do it the same way. I don't think it could be the found footage or the documentary style. I don't think they could do that.
Especially the way that this movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be.
Yeah.
I think it could be with how receptive viewers are now of older techniques. Like, we want more practical stuff in movies now. We want, like, Werewolf by Night was a really good one because they used a lot of practical shit in it, and we really dug that. So they easily could do another found footage type of or mockumentary style type of movie, but just in a different, give us a different town, different killer. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be about Leslie Vernon. It can kind of be like under the same umbrella.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, with how little this movie is talked about, you could literally probably make the same movie. You could do an Evil Dead type of thing where, you know, Sam Raimi, it's in the same vein if you think about it. Like when Sam Raimi did Evil Dead, it was made for very little money. It didn't get very well. The reception wasn't great, and it got a NC-17 rating, or it was unrated. So like a lot of people didn't see it. More people talked about it, but the fact is, Sam Raimi came back later and was like, "I'm just gonna do it again, but I'm gonna add some different elements to it." Ultimately, making the same movie, but not the same movie. And I feel they could do it with this because the fact that it's not talked, you know, Behind the Mask isn't talked about very much. I mean, it is now. I feel it's getting it's a lot more respected now. You know, with Dead Meat covering it, of course, and you know, hopefully with us talking about it today. And you know, Dustin, you've probably talked about it before. It's, you know, hopefully people will open their eyes and actually see this movie and see I think the genius that was put into it. But yeah, you could just ultimately make the same movie, just sprinkle in something a little bit different. You could either even bring the same guy back to be Leslie Vernon and just do it again, just a little bit older with a little bit of extra.
You got something to say, Dustin?
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, maybe if they did that, bring Leslie Vernon back, but as like the Eugene character.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they could do that too. Yeah.
That would be great. There we go. Come on, somebody.
Exactly.
I'm not smart enough to be to write scripts. I can't do that. I'm just throwing out ideas here.
No, and you're not wrong though, because since it's been 16 odd years since the original film, the Leslie Vernon film, they kind of talk about tropes of a lot of films that, you know, older movies like 80s and 90s and stuff like that, and even 70s movies. But you could even there are a lot of those that are still used today, but they've changed for the modern audience. So you could do literally, like you said, and just talk about it reflects more a modern horror cinema with somebody else, or again with Leslie Vernon if you wanted to remake it like Evil Dead 2. But yeah, it would be reusing the same idea, but there's a lot of other areas I could explore that they never talked about even in this movie. So
yeah, or like, what has Leslie Vernon been up to from 2006 to now?
Right.
You know, I mean, because watching through the credits, you see him get up off the table, and then what happens since?
Skin grafts.
Yeah,
lots of them.
yeah.
It's just that's the sequel. It's just him. A film crew is following him to the hospital as he's getting all those skin grafts. Like, it's been 16 years and I'm still going.
You got to go out of country to do it, so people don't know who he is.
Yeah. Or they have like a physician they go to specifically, like within the industry.
There's got to be a serial killer doctor that does actual work on serial killers. There has to be in that universe.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do we have anything else we want to add before we jump into this plot? Man, the silence is giving me no answer. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. We're good to go, dude.
All right. Behind the Mask. The Rise of Leslie Vernon starts with a woman working at a diner, and she is taking the trash out at night, and she gets scared because things are happening. Things are going bump in the night. She sees somebody in the bushes, but does she? The door closes. She gets scared. She runs around the corner, and then it jumps to the Taylor's doing kind of a documentary thing with the intro talking about Glen Echo, which is great. I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting someone to die. But she talks about how Glen Echo is not much different than Crystal Lake, which I love how she like breaks down, you know, how Jason Voorhees and all of his victims at Crystal Lake, and talks about Elm Street in Springwood or in Ohio. They don't say Springwood, they just say Ohio. But I love how Kane Hodder is living at 1428 Elm Street, which is where Nancy lived in the original, which is awesome. I just love it. It's like, hey, excuse me, sir, can we have a chat? Just walks in.
Can we talk about your neighbor Frederick? And he slams the door.
Yeah, that's face. Right. It's so good. And they talk about Haddonfield, you know, talk about Michael Myers. They even reference other killers that I guess exist in this universe. They talk about Chucky. They talk about a killer doll. Like it's wild, all of the references in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so well done. And then they talk about Leslie Vernon, the legend of Leslie Vernon. Was a boy who was thrown off of a waterfall, was ultimately the story.
Yeah.
And they hadn't seen him again. It was like 20 years or something like that. They pretty much thought he was dead. But he is like the next big thing. And so Taylor and her crew are there to pretty much follow him around and see what it is to be a serial killer in today's age, which is 2006.
In the future of 2006.
So Taylor goes to the house, and you get like that eerie a moment where she keeps looking, like she knocks on the door, nobody answers. You look up the window, you see the curtains fluttering around. You're like, oh, up there, oh, and you're like, oh, this guy doesn't want to talk to us. And then he just kind of plays a prank on him. He just walks up, he's like, like scares him.
Yeah.
You just find out this dude is just a goofball. Now, Dustin, you know you can just cut in whenever you want when you want to say something.
Sure. Yeah, I say the same thing on mine. I'm like, just fucking interrupt me. Interrupt.
Because I'll just keep going with this pod until somebody just interrupts me.
He will. One time we stopped recording and left, and he just kept talking.
Yes. I had so much to say that day. I love how they go inside and they're talking to him, and he's like, look at all these books. And he's talking about how, like, you know, do these books help you at all? He's like, well, you don't just read Grey's Anatomy, you know, for fun.
Yeah. I agree.
And he talks about, he goes, here's my turtles, but don't pet him. He's a little asshole. He goes, but I just stopped feeding him, and he just won't fucking die. And they're like, well, turtles are really good like that.
What were the turtles' names? They had there was a reference to them.
I can look real quick, but I don't remember.
Something I forgot to write down. But he shows them that he loves magic, and he does a magic trick, and the one guy is just like, holy fucking sweet.
Like, Church and Zoe.
Church and Zoe. So Church was the cat from Pet Sematary, and Zoe was the dog from Pet Sematary 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
So there's your reference. I remember the references, didn't remember the names.
He goes, do you have a deck of cards on you? He goes, why the fuck would I have a deck of cards on me?
Yeah.
He goes, check your front pocket. All David Blaine style.
Yeah, so good. Holy fucking sweet.
I would assume would work really well in that line of work.
Yeah.
You know,
right?
It's kind of cool. He's like escaping and stuff. Like that's
Sleight of hand, sure. Yeah.
So good. So it's time to take a trip to his old house so he can show Taylor how he does what he does. And they ask him, it's like, well, why don't you just live here? This is like a good spot if you're always coming here. He's like, well, you know, I can't live somewhere where everybody thinks I'm dead. Because that would just, you know, I want them to think I'm dead. I want them to think I'm some sort of supernatural being.
They just can't see me mowing the fucking lawn.
Yeah, it's not Leslie.
Yeah.
Just buy goats, man. Goats.
He's wearing the mask while he's mowing the lawn.
Which I have to say, the mask is cool as hell. I think it's a very iconic mask.
Yeah.
It's just another day. He's doing his cardio. He's talking about the fact of like, I need to make sure that, when they're sprinting away, that I'm looking like I'm just walking, but I still need to keep up with them.
Did you where did you guys watch this movie at? Was it on like on Shudder?
No, it wasn't on Shudder, which sucked. I had to rent it from Amazon.
That's where we did.
There's a deleted scene about this where he's like, I bet you, he's talking to Taylor. He's like, I'll race you to that tree over there, but I'll give you a 10-second head start. And she's like, okay, I'll make in high school, she was like a track star. So he goes, go. And she books it. And he's booking it, but she turns around and looks and he starts walking. And then she turns around and looks forward, booking it. And then he starts booking. It's like red light, green light with him. But she follows and that's how he catches her. He's like, I kept up with you while I was fucking walking, but we see the goof.
Yeah.
So,
we then hang out with him as he scouts his victims. He pretty much talks about the whole plan about how he needs to scout somebody who hangs out with a big group, because that's how he kind of gets to. And then he talks about the final girl, which he calls the survivor girl. It's the final
industry term.
Yeah. But and she has to be a virgin. That's the only way that it can work. But he needs her to have a group of friends so that he can pick off the friends one by one to then eventually get her down to be the final one, and then have her want to seek revenge and fight back. Like that's the whole plan. That's kind of the code. And his target, I like how they go to a place and they're scouting people, and you get the one girl who they're talking about. It's like, oh, that girl's a virgin. And she, right before she is about to go behind the tree, she notices them. And he's just like, hey, did you see that? We sensed each other.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, now what? He's like, oh, what do you think I'm going to, no, I already got mine planned out. This was just to show you what I do.
Yeah. And this is one of the mini Easter eggs where behind her are those little girls jump roping.
Yes.
From Nightmare on Elm Street.
So good. So we go to the diner, back to the diner from the beginning of the movie, where Leslie is explaining that Kelly is that's who his survivor girl. And he is there because he likes to like scare them. Like he likes to do some stuff to them to kind of get them to kind of notice him, to think they saw something, even like they did, but they didn't. You know what I mean? Like those moments, like in Halloween when Laurie sees Michael for the first time, and then you turn and Michael's gone.
Get him scared, man.
That type of moment, yeah.
Build up the tension, yeah.
So I love they do the whole scare with the brick on the door and Leslie kind of standing in the bushes and everything. And then after everything is all done, they do I love where he's like, good job, guys. Pound and bow. What the hell is
Pound
that?
and bow.
Pound and bow.
And you get hugs.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I get more ways to just make Leslie just more awkward.
Yes,
camera.
he is super awkward. Also, the only people he hangs out with are other people that are like him. So,
yep. Well, I mean, that's the general thing. Is serial killers?
Well, yeah, he's a serial killer.
Supposed to be weird, awkward people. So, allegedly.
So we then go to meet Leslie's friends, Gene and his wife Jamie, and Gene is a retired serial killer, and from what I've read is that he is supposed to be Billy Lenz, who is the killer in 1974's Black Christmas. They never make reference to it, but it's always been the idea that was thrown around. Like that's, he is, because Black Christmas is like one of those OG slashers.
Yes, we've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is he always makes himself out like he is one of the OGs in that field. And at the end of Black Christmas, the killer's never caught. So this is what he ended up doing. He went off the grid and, but the way we meet him is fantastic because he's in like a deprivation tank buried in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to wake him up. I just get busy.
I love his how long has it been? 3 days. 3 days.
Yeah.
What day? It's Tuesday. No, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
His wife's just I just lost count of the time.
Yeah.
And they support Leslie in his endeavor, of course, because Gene is just so proud to have somebody who wants to do what he did. So Gene tells the story about his time, about how it was a lot harder back then because of the fact of it was kind of just more of a spur of the moment. There wasn't as much of the planning stages as there is with Leslie's generation. Leslie, spending all this time planning, where it was nah, I picked the thing, I picked a place, found the people, you do what you had to do, and you got out. Deal.
You killed everybody and you left.
He's it's just too complicated now. It's too complicated. And you have to, so he then talks about the fact that he needs a red herring. So he needs to kill somebody in front of the survivor girl to kind of is trying to build up the fear in her. And so it's one of those things where we need to find somebody who's close to her. Oh, well, what about the library? She hangs out at the library a lot. So let's go there.
Yeah. There's a couple things in this part that I really liked. I liked Eugene's description of it, because Taylor's so can you describe, your art of killing? And he goes, you mean the art of fear? And shit like that. He goes, to have good versus evil, there has to be an evil part of it. Mm-hmm. And that's when Taylor kind of understands, not really, she doesn't really understand throughout the whole thing because she's very hesitant throughout the whole movie. But when he explains it to her that way, she's like, okay, I understand the whole good and evil thing. And then I really fucking like when she goes, when his wife's like, yeah, we just got to chop up these veggies. And he said, just cutting the carrot. And it goes, bah, 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 and it's all dust after that. I thought that was fucking rad.
And I just like how this whole movie treats us. It's not like this one dude who's just obviously they kill people, so they're fucked up. And not like this one dude's just fucked up. It's legitimately a career for these people. They see it as it is. It's a profession for them.
Yeah. And he goes, yeah, Fred, Jay, Mike, treating them like they're co-workers. They made it like a curse. They really upped the game by coming back. Like you were saying, but they go in, they swoop in, kill the people, get numbers, leave. These people kept returning, which made that's what upped the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole that first interaction with Eugene is probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
He's fantastic in every the way he delivers all of his lines, and just it gets Taylor to react. She's just sitting there holy shit. It's one of those every time she hears something new, it's always I think in her mind of what the hell have I gotten myself into?
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things what have you gotten yourself into? What are you supposed to do with this information? I mean, you later see in the movie what she ends up doing with it, because she has to make that, that call of what's the moral decision behind everything that's happening around her.
Yeah. And this is also a part when they enter Eugene's house, they walk by Sam Raimi's Oldsmobile.
Yep.
Ash's car. Yeah. And then there's the fucking the Hellraiser cube, the configuration, the limit configuration just sitting there.
Yeah. Just sitting there as
and that's another thing, is Pinhead part of this universe? I mean, why would he have that?
It's just one of those things where Eugene's just sitting there. He does the thing just so he can hang out with Pinhead and have a chat about killing him.
That's how he calls him, yeah.
But the thing is Pinhead, but if you think about it, Pinhead really isn't a serial killer. So it doesn't make sense. Oh. But, I mean, I like the Easter egg. They don't ever mention Pinhead. But if you think about it, he's just a servant of hell.
Yeah. You can say the same for Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead is just... He's summoned. He's not the bad guy of the movie. The bad guy is the people who killed, who he's seeking vengeance on.
Right.
Yeah, listen, you guys called me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And he said that he takes off his cooking apron, puts it up on the wall and shit.
So good.
Gotta clock in. I gotta go. And his wife's like, "Where you going?" I got to clock in.
Damn, a call this late. Oh, I really need to make that payment though.
Yeah. That's an easy $2,000. It's an easy $2,000, babe.
So funny. So they go to the library, and Leslie breaks down the whole plan of what are they going to do. He decides he's going to fake a news article about a relative of Kelly who was responsible for Leslie's mom's death. It's a whole thing. And I just love the fact he's like, everybody nowadays is using CGI.
Yeah,
Fake anything. Right? It's so funny. And when he's setting everything up, when they actually get in the library, like they break into the back of it and they're hiding in the rows of books, and he's just a silent assassin. Like he is moving around the library and you hear nothing. He's like, what? Where'd he go? Did you catch him? Like, where is he at? And he's like, oh, there he is. Yeah. As he's like putting the paper, and you hear nothing. And then we get the creepiest part of the movie when Todd, the gross pervert, is saying weird sexual things about a 17-year-old girl. It's fucked up, Todd. Shut the fuck up.
I cannot disagree with that statement, Park.
Yeah,
it's true facts. I will say this is kind of the point in the movie where I don't know what what's her name? Taylor? I blanked it.
Taylor's
Taylor.
Yeah.
So I don't know what point she just thought this was bullshit, or like this where she kind of like realizes like there's some weight to what's going to happen tonight because with part of the plan.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, she just sits there sometimes and she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense," and I'm like, "No,
none of this does.
Make sense. This is
all terrible.
This is either going to be a fucking huge ploy and you're going to be just the laughing stock, or it's going to be real and you're going to be an accomplice at the least."
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like he's the one that has to go into hiding, not them, So it's like, what's going to happen to them later?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, there's evidence, man.
So Kelly falls for the trap. She finds the article. She goes up to the librarian, played by Zelda Rubinstein. In my notes, because I completely forgot what her name was, I just put Poltergeist Lady. She tells, I love that she tells the story of Leslie Vernon in kind of like that very dramatic, with her voice. So I guess in reality, she didn't actually sound like that. Like her voice was very high pitched, but like she actually used she manipulated her voice to sound more like her character from Poltergeist. That's what I read. I could be wrong. Somebody yell at me if I am.
Gilbert Gottfried did the same thing.
He still had that very annoying voice, but it wasn't as like forced. Yeah. So she tells the story about Leslie Vernon and all that. And I don't need to retell it because I told it a little bit earlier. But as she's telling the story, Kelly notices that that Leslie is behind the librarian. She screams, but guess who's there? Doc Halloran, played by Robert Englund, which is awesome. And of course he's supposed to be like Dr. Loomis from Halloween. He's like, Leslie, don't do it. And then he kills the librarian, which you never actually see. She just falls.
Yeah.
And then he like escapes in the most dramatic fashion where he's just jumping on all the bookcases. And it's like, of course, Doc is shooting at him and stuff like that. Then he just disappears. So Doc's name is derived from The Shining. It's so Doc comes from the nickname that Danny Torrance had, and Halloran is from the character. The other, what was his name?
The other guy that had The Shining, right? Like
Was it Dick? Is it Dick Halloran?
Yes.
I couldn't tell. I know who he is. Yeah.
The Shining is one of my favorite movies of all time. You think I'd remember these characters, but my brain, it's because we're recording and my brain decides I don't want to work right now. Welcome to podcasting, everybody. Taylor decides she wants to go visit Kelly at the diner, even though Leslie told her not to. And she just kind of wants to see what's going on. But Doc's there too. And he comes up and he's like, I don't know what you're doing. But I know that he pretty much figures out that they are with Leslie. And you get the whole backstory about how Leslie isn't who he says he is. And you get that whole thing. He's like, what is he calling himself now? Leslie Vernon? and you find out what his actual name is, to the point where when they leave, Leslie confronts them and she gets pissed off about it. And he's like, well, what's your actual name? And that's when this is when you see like this is when you actually see like a scary part of Leslie where he's like super serious. He like pins her up against the van and he's just like, don't do this. Like, don't ruin this for me. And then eventually he ends up telling her who he actually is. So he is from Reno, Nevada. I think he was Leslie
Mancuso,
which is a reference to one of the
Friday the 13th
producers of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And
I really like that she's like, he goes, are we going to pretend we already had this conversation or do you actually want to have it? And she's like, Leslie goes, all right, there's your part. And he fucking grabs her and puts her up against the van and says, don't ruin my life's fucking plans. Just because I explicitly told you not to go and talk to her and you went and did the one thing I asked you not to do. And like you said, the switch flipped. And that's the first time we really get to see like the scary side of Leslie that he hasn't shown them at all.
Yeah.
Which is great because it escalates from there for the rest of the movie.
Yep.
So he talks about where he's from, what his real name is. He tells her that Doc was his psychiatrist. Of course, this is very Halloween. And he just wanted to. He tells her that he got a restraining order on him. So, like, if he tries to do anything, he's the one who's going to get arrested, not him.
Nice.
Like, this dude is so smart. I don't know if that's how a restraining order works, but that's hilarious. Taylor decides to stick it out. She really is flip-flopping between whether or not she wants to stick with this or not, just because it all changed for her. She thought she was following somebody who like the real legend of the story, but it was just somebody who'd kind of inherited the whole legend. So, but she makes the decision to stick it out. Leslie tours his ancestral home, where he shows her all the different, rooms and like where everything's going to happen. Here's the living room where they're all going to hang out. Here's the bedroom where these two people are going to come up and they're going to have sex. And I love the whole thing about the closet, about going in the closet. It's like a womb, you're emerging. It's like emerging from the womb. I was like, that's a weird ass reference for a closet, but all right.
He's like, dude, you got to have standards, man.
Yeah.
You don't go into the closet. That's a sacred place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has everything all broken down on exactly what is going to happen. He shows her. I love where he goes into the shed. He tells her about the axe, about how he loosened all the stuff on the weapons, just because he's like, hey, if they're going to get me, they got to have one good swing. Like if they get a good swing on me, then I'm screwed.
Yeah. And I like when he walks up to the window and he goes, yeah, they're nailed shut. And she goes, well, wouldn't they just break through? And he goes, you would think they would, but they don't.
And if they do, it's always on the roof, and then they're kind of screwed. And you're like, oh my God, he's literally playing out these slasher movies and the stupid ass decisions all these victims do. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
With the flashlights having dead batteries in them.
Yes.
The branches being pre-cut. You get rid of all the big branches. Yeah. Definitely prepping for the night.
Absolutely.
So and then you get the whole thing where he talks about the axe again, and he compares it to his manhood. He's like, when the survivor girl takes that axe, it's like she's taking my manhood and she's using it to empower herself. And I'm like, wow, these analogies are insane.
Yeah.
How he delivers it, he goes, she grabs my manhood. Shit like that, dude. It's so
it's so good. Oh man. So Leslie points out the obvious poor decisions by horror victims, which we just mentioned. The final part of the night is told, the Ahab moment, which we didn't mention before, but when Doc Halloran shows up at the library, they go back to Jean and Jamie's house, and they watch the video back of Doc showing up, and Leslie's pumped because he has an Ahab, which is a reference to Moby Dick. He has that, like
Nemesis.
Dr. Loomis and stuff. Yeah, he's got that nemesis, and he is pumped. Did you see the move he did on the ground where he like does a flip and he just flips himself back out? I'm like, this man is agile as hell.
Yeah, he is.
And we get the final girl moment, of course, where it's her squaring off against him and kind of like the apple orchard, because you find out that the whole story was that Leslie, the legend of Leslie was that he killed his parents and then he hung his mom in like one of the apple trees, right? In the orchard.
Something like that,
I love the scene earlier in the movie where it's like, you hear, if you listen real closely, you can hear her out there.
They're all just like,
can you hear it? And it's like,
she's like,
I'm just kidding. You can't hear anything.
he's like, that's like at least a month away.
Oh my God. I did not expect to laugh as much as I did watching this movie.
It has some decent humor in it.
So we also talk about the fact of like, you don't hang out with the virgin because because if you hang out with a virgin, you're going to die. Because that's what a serial killer is looking for, is the group that has that virgin. And these were the rules. So it was don't hang out with a virgin, don't hide, and don't be a hero. So don't fight back. Just run.
Yeah.
That is what they say. Just when you're facing off against a serial killer, just run. So Leslie prepares for the night ahead, and I like where he's prepping himself. He's got his like the shit he's putting on his face.
Like flame retardant, like it's to help prevent. Well, actually, there you go. He might not need skin grafts because that stuff's supposed to prevent him from catching on fire.
Right.
And then if he gets cut, it's supposed to like how boxers, they put the shit on their face when they get their eyebrows busted open.
I didn't think of that, to be honest.
Just like constrict the blood vessels and shit like that. His face.
Yeah. There you go. There's the.
And
answer.
then he just starts crying.
He's so happy.
His time has come. Like the night his whole life has been planning for is tonight.
I remember when I watched the kill count on this, I don't remember like everything from beginning to end. So when I really expected him to it was one of those things where he does all the prepping and then he can never do it. And then you find out like he never killed anybody. But that's not what happens. It's not what happens. And I love that that's like you were expecting one thing, but you got like, no, this guy is a killer. Like he does kill people. Because it was he kills the librarian, but you don't really see anything. She just kind of falls.
Yeah.
It's the moment in the house where they're waiting on the other side of the bedroom and they're waiting for the two people to come up to have sex. And then you see him walk out there. Yeah.
he's popping himself up. Yeah.
It's so good. And he walks out there and you just hear like the screaming and the sounds of like his scythe going into them.
It reminds me of like, for any of you that grew up watching wrestling, it reminds me of literally like a wrestler getting ready. If you've seen them like right before they walk out, like on the ramp, they have that staging area. And sometimes you'd see them kind of like pumping themselves up before they go out. And that's what it reminded me of. Because he even called it a staging area. It's like this is going to be our staging area.
I just see like people banging on the door and Leslie coming out being followed by security, Goldberg style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But this is the part like I like when Taylor's like, that's when she's like, fuck, like she knows like everything's like set in right there. Yeah. And then Leslie goes, whoosh, whoosh, comes back in and he goes, yeah, I did it. And she gets she's angry.
Yeah.
She's like, you actually did this? And he's like, all right, fuck this. Let's get out here now.
Yeah. I love how they just walk outside like there's not a bunch of kids in the house. Like they hear nothing. And they just go outside like, come on. You guys stay here in the van that's right outside the house that all these teenagers are hanging out in.
They just drove by it. Yeah, like it was there. It's been there for 20 plus years. Yeah.
It's so good. But a little bit earlier, we talk about how he gets emotional while he gets ready. He's crying. Also the fact that Taylor asks him if he has feelings for Kelly. He's like, yeah, you kind of have to, but not in that way. Like it's just, I'm just excited. This is my night. And he does the first two kills. Taylor gets upset. They get thrown outside. and he tells her, he's like, this is what I was born to do. No matter what happened, it doesn't matter what happened in my life. Like there doesn't need to be an origin of why I do this. I was just born to do this. And you're like, okay, that's cool. We don't need a traumatic childhood, any of that type of thing. It's just like, no, he just decided one day he wanted to be a serial killer. Because you don't get any history about him, his actual character, like who he really is. It's always about the legend of Leslie Vernon, not about who this actual guy. So, which is cool. I'm glad we didn't get that because I think it would have ruined it.
I agree. I like the lack of information.
He just was like, I'm a killer. This is what I want to do. So Taylor decides that she is going to stop Leslie. So of course, she persuades the crewman, Todd, and is it Gary?
Doug.
Oh, Doug.
This is when our perspective changes, by the way.
Yes, because the documentary is over. So now we're an actual movie now. And we are seeing the Taylor and the crew go into the house and warn the teenagers. Of course, you got the stoners who are just like, yeah, okay, dude.
What up there with that Shane dude?
Yeah. Yeah, and I like how they go upstairs, and like, because they're expecting to find, Kelly by herself, and Kelly is just riding this man. She is riding this dude. I was like,
dude, and they kind of like they kind of play off earlier, Todd. It's like, well, this isn't her first time,
Yeah,
like, golly, dude.
Oh my god. Yeah, it was not what I was expecting. They just opened that door. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, outside of the shitty comments they made earlier in the movie, this is the point I really start liking the film crew. Like when they change to this perspective, because they literally become the goofball characters, even more comedic relief for the movie.
And what this did is I really liked is this is when you start to realize Leslie worked them into the equation as well. Yeah. Like he had before they even talk about it. Like you're like, they are now they're accounting for 3 extra people now. Yeah. Which I thought was super tight. And that's the thing, is like Leslie Vernon's like 3 steps ahead of that whole group now.
Yeah.
Which is fucking pretty good.
So she's not the virgin anymore. So it's one of those things where they're not figuring, they're like, what's going on? This kind of screw, because Taylor initially goes, oh, well, this fucks with his plan. So he's going to have to figure something else out because there's no virgin now.
Fucking the other girl, when they're like, you're the virgin, and the other girl goes,
yeah. I just was like, thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, right.
Not the virgin anymore. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's so funny. The stoners go outside to investigate the shed. They're like, don't do it. It's like, we're fine. We're fucking stoned out of our minds. They go in there. One of them gets killed, and the other one, of course, gets killed as well. Leslie has to rearrange his plans. At least that's what you think. And you see, he notices that Taylor's trying to sabotage the night. And then Kelly just falls out the window. She just jumps out the window and dies.
Well, it's the second story. She went and grabbed that big branch that was that shows him cutting.
Right. Yeah.
Pre-cut branches.
Because isn't that when they go upstairs like, oh, the dead body's upstairs. Let's go show them the dead bodies, and they're killed in the room. Yeah. And that's when they're not there. And there's no bodies.
Yeah.
There's no blood or anything.
The door starts violently jiggling, and then that's when Kelly smacks the window on the second story and grabs that branch.
Yep.
And then Leslie's down on the ground looking up at him.
Yep.
It's great shots. Great shots, by the way. Anytime you see Leslie, you never actually see him sprinting. He's always just kind of popping out, or just there. Like any type of slasher killer. Like mostly like it kind of reminded me of like Michael Myers from the original Halloween, where it's you never see Michael running. It's always him just
in the original ones.
Yeah. And then
or just living in a fucking sewer. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to go down there for a few years after you get some town folk.
Hi, my name's Corey Cunningham, and I kill people.
Dude,
Halloween
Behind
Ends.
the Mask,
See
the
it now.
rise of Corey Cunningham. Let's watch it. Let's make this a movie.
Dude, I just hate that kid just fucking wrestled Michael
Oh
Myers.
no!
He did. He bro wrestles him. He
It
got his
makes me
ass kicked.
so mad, dude.
Dude, this is the same dude who got his ass beat by the fucking
Oh my
band.
god! Didn't we already do this review?
Yeah, we're doing it again.
I'm-
Roll right into it.
I've
So
talked
funny.
about it on like the last 3 episodes. I'm like, this movie fucking sucked.
Yes, yes.
Man,
So
Anyways.
Todd, oh Scott, fucking Halloween Ends.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
So of course Todd is trying to be the hero. So he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna distract him. I'm gonna go run, and I'm gonna have him chase me." And everybody else kind of goes into the barn. But then Todd like falls into like a mud pit or something like that, or is like the middle of the.
Well, what he talks about, Leslie has a set of rules as well, and his number one rule is no one escapes. So going back to him talking about his mom being hung in the apple orchard, he goes, "Yeah, the dirt becomes flooded with blood. Like that's part of the lore of him." And Todd's like, "What the?" He starts running and he gets caught. And he's like, "What the fuck?" Like it actually happening to him because it wasn't happening to him prior, because they were out there a month before. So I mean, Leslie did something, but
Yeah.
that's what he fell and tripped in. Was that part of Leslie Vernon's story was the apple orchard running with blood?
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
pick
I
that
missed
up.
that, so that's good.
Very cool. Very cool. Taylor figures out that she's the final girl. Well, mostly one of the high school guys is like, "No, you're the final girl. You're the virgin." She's like,
And then they made fun of her. He ain't virgin.
Yeah, that's when they're in the top of the barn, and then she has this moment like he's ahead of us, and then she's like, "Oh fuck!" Like this is all the plan. Like all of this has happened is part of the plan, not the plan he originally told them.
Yeah.
It's fucking genius.
Can we talk about the beautiful? It's not. This is a joke, but like the great shot that the cameraman had to do of the girl as she's climbing the ladder. They had to like, upskirt. You're like,
Yeah,
Oh,
upper skirt.
that didn't need to happen, but all right.
Well, remind me to talk about the tits later on at the end of this fucking movie.
we can talk about it now because that's part of the plan. That was part of the planning.
So, like, does that not just seem like the most like we filmed this movie? My guys, there's no tits in it. It doesn't fit with the genre. Like, I would just put this like
Zoom
jump cut
in.
of tip. Yeah, probably completely different person. Just
Probably the
titties,
mannequin is probably fake. Like it
Yeah,
looks
could
fake
be.
as fuck. Yeah.
titties and fondling, and it makes me think. Have you guys ever seen the movie Waiting?
Yes.
Yeah, the uncut version with the bush scene and then the goat. Like that's what it makes me think of. It's like the shit that was just added after the fact.
Yeah.
Just
Oh
so you
my
get some
God.
tatters.
Jesus, I completely forgot to mention that, but like it was so out of place. It just felt so out of place.
It did. It didn't. It felt like it was included in post production. Like fuck, put this back in.
I say it's not a Dissect That Film episode. If there is not some tits in a movie, we have to talk about them. And
It's
Angela
got
just
to.
sits there and goes, "Fucking
I'm
God
just here."
damn it!" So Leslie had this whole thing planned all along. The fact that Taylor is the final girl or the survivor girl, as they say in this movie. Doug ends up knocking out Doc.
Dude, I fucking love that. Clink! Smacks one side of the head. I just fall. That's gold. It makes me laugh every single time I see that shit.
I was just like, wait, what? What the hell? The two other kids get killed. You get the girl, of course, and also the guy as well that were left from the high school group. And then Leslie gets knocked out.
I know. So yeah, he falls off the that second story after hanging the football kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he rises up like Michael Myers, and he gets in a tussle with Doc, and it looks like Doc dies because it looks like he stabs him with the scythe. Because in my notes, it's like, oh, Leslie kills Doc. Wrong. Leslie stalks Taylor, and he stalks her. Of course, this is the final part of the plan where he's in the apple orchard, or she's in the apple orchard, kind of going around with the axe that she knows has the loose head on it.
Which is weird because she went all the way to the back of the barn, not the one that he showed her. You know, like he's like at the he's like, here, it's this one right here. It's like at the when she opens the door, she went all the way to the back of the shed and grabbed the one from back there.
Yep. Yep.
So,
well, don't forget that like Doug, he's like, I love her, Leslie, and I'll protect her. And just fucking smashes his head into a wall. He's done. Like just out.
I thought he died. I thought he was another death. I was like, oh no. And she gets a good hit on him with the axe, but the head falls off. So you find out that, of course, based on the information you're giving, that she got a different axe. He sabotaged all of them.
Yeah, he might have that would have worked in the equation. Yeah,
because he figured that because she knew she was going to grab a different one.
Yep.
But he disappears, just like any slasher villain. They get a good licking, and then they just up and disappear. She then goes into the cider house where they went earlier in the movie, and he shows her the cider press, which is such a weird thing. I'm like, that's disgusting. Do you see all those apples? That's nasty.
I mean, people used to make wine with their feet.
They still do, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know they do at wineries. They do that. Like you can. Oh, would you like to squash the grapes with your feet? No. Thank you.
No.
Taylor. So Taylor does the most predictable final girl thing ever. As smart as she is, coming up to this old fucking cider barn, instead of going in with the fucking handle of the axe, which still has some weight, because just what are you doing? Why?
So they get into a fight. Taylor gets the upper hand and forces Leslie's head into the press, and then squeezes it to the point where he takes his mask off and he's like, Taylor, oh. And then of course she does it a couple more times and you think, he's dead. And then she
that's where he proclaims that it was her all along.
Yep. Yeah. And she burns it down with him inside. And of course
throws the axe handle in.
Yeah. And then of course you get the very dramatic of her outside the barn going, like you had to have that. And you find out that Doug and Doc are alive. You know, Doc's a little bit more worse for wear, but Doug's still here, and he gets you look like they're about to smooch, but they don't smooch. You're like, oh, that'll be a booming relationship. And they just stand there and watch the barn burn. And then the credits roll.
I was gonna say, Doc's sitting here like, yes, this is all great and celebratory, but I'm bleeding the fuck out right now.
He did stab me with a scythe.
And they talk about, like, do you think he'd ever come back? And Doc hits him with the line that he's just a man. You know, he's just a guy, just a man. Yeah,
very Dr. Loomis of him.
Very. He didn't shoot him 6 times though.
No, 6 times.
Yes, and remember, that's retconned in Halloween Ends as well, because he's just a man.
Yeah. Fuck Halloween Ends.
We don't need to talk about that fucking movie.
I don't want to talk.
But I listened to at least 7 fucking podcasts about Halloween
I'm
Ends,
sure.
and not many of them are very far off from each other.
No, but when we get the credits, when you have him in the morgue, that dude with the wig is Kane Hodder for his second cameo.
Oh, is it?
Wait, the morgue worker?
It's Kane Hodder.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then the song was playing. You know, the Psycho Killer.
Yes.
My wife knew it. I've heard it before, but
singing it.
Yeah, she was. I was like, this is fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Like, muted your mic. You muted your mic. You're muted.
He must have accidentally did it.
Yeah.
Not. Shut up.
Halloween Ends. That's what happened.
Yeah, like, fuck this movie.
No, I just like that it's the credits are rolling, and then by the end, Leslie's body rises.
Yeah. And still like that style
scared me.
Yeah.
Like that part scared me because I'm like, I know it's gonna happen. Then I'm like, well, maybe it's not gonna happen. And then it happens. And I was like, oh.
Well, you expect it to be like a lot of movies that do that, where it's like, oh, there's gonna be like the thing during the credit, but it's only like a part of the credits. This is the whole fucking credit scene. This one song plays the whole credit scene, and it's just this shot going, which is great.
Yeah, it's cool because it plays off of the documentary being the CCTV stuff, so it fits in. It feels organic. It's really good, really good.
And that's it, guys. That is the end
Want
of
more.
this. Yes,
I know.
we want
We need
more.
more.
But that is the end, guys, unfortunately. And it was a perfect runtime. Another 90-minute movie.
Oh, it's great, dude. It felt great. Good pacing.
So good. Well, that is it for Behind the Mask. I'm not drunk, guys. Don't worry. The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Oh man, what a fun movie. I mean, for me, I know for me, this definitely gets the DTF seal of approval. 2 thumbs up.
Oh yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Dustin,
Nope.
thank you so much for recommending us this movie and coming on to talk about it. It was an absolute blast, and definitely looking forward to having you back on again to talk about whatever the next movie will be. Next week, though, guys, for episode 78, I have no idea what we're doing because I didn't plan ahead because life is busy and my dumbass was just not prepared. So what I'm going to do is, Dustin, I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to have you pick us a movie for next week. Go.
It would be spooky.
It doesn't have to be spooky because this is our technical final episode of Spooktober. It could be anything.
Don't make a shit, please.
Please. I say that and I'm like, oh no, I'm kind of scared.
You guys haven't done The Faculty yet, right?
No, we haven't.
There you go.
It's got a Terminator connection in it too.
And I have it right there on DVD. I am excited now. So for episode 78, we're going to be talking about The Faculty, everybody. And you're going to be like, but didn't you just talk about Phantoms? Yes, we did. But it's not the same. It's a different movie, guys. Robert Rodriguez. It's going to be a fun time. Thank you, Dustin, for choosing that out of thin air there and giving us a quick. I was going into this recording like, damn it, I don't know what the hell we're doing next week. I didn't talk to anyone else to guest on here. I was like, oh no. But next week, The Faculty. Very excited to talk about that movie. Dustin, thank you so much for being on. It was a blast. I am looking forward to one day being able to guest on your show.
You guys are all 3 of you are more than welcome. All 3 of you are more than welcome.
No, not Dan.
Oh, sorry.
Not Dan.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. Never mind. I'll retract that invitation.
No,
that's great. I like that. I like it. I like it.
Again, like it's awesome. I mean, ever since we started doing this podcasting thing almost 2 years ago now, it's awesome meeting all these amazing people who are doing the same thing and doing great at it. I mean, you guys are fairly new, doing your thing, and your episode. Like I've been listening. I mean, I gotta start from the beginning because I'm like halfway through. But you guys are doing a great job, and I'm looking forward to everything you guys do in the future. I love the camaraderie you have with your co-hosts. It's great, and definitely looking forward to hearing from more guests as well. Because the movie dumpster episode was fucking superb. I mean, those guys are fucking hilarious. But
that one was that's probably I love all of them, but that one's probably my favorite episode, just because of the camaraderie and everything. The tangents we would just fucking go on. About the MDU. Yeah.
MDU.
MDU.
Dude, Granny Van Dam comes up a lot.
I still don't know who that is. I'm so lost. Shit. Oh God. All right, everybody. So this, unfortunately, due to some things happening in my life, there's not going to be any other content other than this episode for this week. Because I won't be able to do any editing on it. So this will be it for this week for content. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to cover any of as this releases, the last couple episodes of Chucky because of things. And then we're not going to be able to do a fresh cut this week, but hopefully we'll be able to do one the week after. Hopefully we'll be able to cover Hellraiser or Black Adam because Black Adam released.
I want to see that this weekend coming up.
So, but this is a good time, guys. Hopefully you're all looking forward to this episode. It was great having Dustin on. Make sure to go check out the Flicks and Friends podcast. Where can people find you, Dustin?
We're on everything except for YouTube right now. So between Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, anywhere on there. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at Flicks and Friends Podcast.
Alrighty. And all of those links will be down in the description. So if you guys can't catch all that, you can just click the links down below. Do you have a LINKTRee?
I do. I'll send that LINKTRee over.
All right, cool. That is the best way I feel for people to get all into all your stuff. Dean and Angela, all their links are going to be down in the description, as always. You can find all of our links in the description. We get it down in the LINKTRee. You can find all of the different places that the show shows up. I mean, you're listening to us right now, so clearly you've already found us. And we're also on YouTube. Make sure if you listen to us, go to the YouTube page. Drop us a sub. It's free. You know, put that thumbs up. Don't do the thumbs down. Come on. Even if you don't like it, just don't rate it. And leave us a comment, because I like reading comments. Good comments. Also, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Good Pods or anywhere you can rate or review us, make sure to do that. I listen primarily on Good Pods, where you can actually rate and review episodes individually. Also, you can rate the show itself. So that's really cool. And it's a great app for indie podcasts. And yeah, that's about it. You can find all my links down in the description as well. Mine aren't as important as the show. But guys.
Wait.
Wait.
You have a comment.
Oh, that's right. I did it a little late because, again, my ass is so freaking behind with everything. I tweeted out today about Dustin being on the show and what we were talking about, and asked if anyone had any thoughts on this movie, and we did get one comment, which is cool, because I did send it out like 2 hours before we started recording. And he said, this is the real Pete, or Pete from MCFC. I very much enjoyed the ideas and execution in Behind the Mask. I particularly like the scene in the alley at her work. That is a very good scene. I really like the tension in there. It's very old school slasher. Very good. Thank you so much for the comment, Pete. I'm going to try to be a little bit better at sending out that tweet a couple days before we do the recording, so it gives you guys a couple days. But also, maybe future me will show up during the edit, and you guys, if somebody sends a comment after we're done recording this, and then, you know, we'll add those in later on, depending on when I get this episode edited.
Yes, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
And
yeah,
Dustin.
thank you, Pete.
Yes, and thank you, Dustin, again for being here. Make sure to go check out the Flicks and Friends podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, because they're great. And so is Dustin.
I try. We're fuming. Thank you guys for letting us or letting me come on and talk this movie with you. I'm always a little skeptical when I share this movie with people, because I don't know what how it'll be recepted. But I'm super stoked you guys all really liked it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm glad that every movie that we've had a guest on has been a good one, because I am waiting for that moment a guest requests something that's not so good. And I have to
shit
pretend.
all over me.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't pretend here. No. Dan Shirley doesn't.
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, in that case, Dan, you are invited to the show.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Dustin. We appreciate you so much. Again, it's great to bring people on and to share the passion that we share and talking about movies. But until next time, everybody, I am Brett Parker. That is Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming. And that is Dustin of the Flicks and Friends podcast. This has been the Dissect That Film podcast, episode 77. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.